just want to check in with a few of you. Is anyone a little bit frightened of making mistakes? Is there anyone who sort of feels like, I really don't want to do that? Yeah, a couple of you. Well, let me just say, I have the background with my parents, my mum and dad, of living in a very risk-averse family. I think my parents couldn't have got more risk-averse professions. My dad was a bank manager, and like way before there was all the risk taking, trust me. And my mother was a nurse. So you can imagine what they thought when I became a small business owner. They kept asking year after year after year after year, when are you kind of going to go back and get a real job? Because they thought that small business was a very risky thing to do. And on one hand, they were probably 100% right, because the failure rate of small businesses is extremely high. But here's the irony. Many businesses, even if they fail the first time, then sometimes it's on their second business or their third business where they have breakthrough. Now, why is that? Because they've learned from their mistakes. Now, I had been in business for about 10 years when I made this kind of crazy decision. And I'm wondering if anyone else has ever in their life made a decision that they kind of look back and go, gee, that was a little bit crazy. Has anyone done that? Yeah, good. I'm glad I'm amongst, what shall we say, perhaps risk takers? Well, my crazy decision was to buy a wine shop. Now, yes, I do like wine, but that wasn't really the main reason. But the thing that's so interesting about this sort of decision and the year that I owned the wine shop was it became one of the most transformative years in my life. And partly it was because even though I'd been in business, even though I was working with other businesses, telling them how to run their businesses, I was making so many mistakes, like so many mistakes. And the reason was, and I'm sure many of you all know this, is because I was doing things that I'd never done before. And when you do things that you've never done before, there are things you don't know that you don't know. Would you agree? And what happened was after this year, it took a few years to get over kind of the shame of making a few mistakes. Does that make sense? Because I'd come from a very risk-averse family where making mistakes was not a good thing, I was kind of a little bit ashamed about making these mistakes. And I sort of thought, look, you don't really hear a lot about mistakes that people make in business. It's a little bit like the old fake it till you make it. That seems to be so prevalent in business, where people are always, you say, oh, how's business? Oh, it's great. It's amazing. Is it really? I can tell you often it's not. It's often really tough. It's really hard to find customers. It's a bit of a slog. It can be really challenging. But we don't hear about that. We don't hear about the mistakes that people make in business or the things that happen that aren't great, because everyone's still trying to fake it till you make it. And we're being fake to all our business friends and to all our other colleagues. And I thought about this and I thought, I have learned so much through this year of stumbling through that I really thought, what, I really wish that other businesses had been a little bit more honest with me. I wish that they'd been brave enough to just bear it all and let me know what didn't work as much as what did work. Now, for most of my life, when I go to a bookshop, when I started off as a teenager, I used to go straight to the self-development section or the personal development section. And I used to love this question that I'd ask at parties. If you were a section of a bookshop, what section would you be? It's a great party starter. Feel free to use that one. But for me, it was always the self-development section, which used to get a few people running away. And then later, as I became a business owner, I found myself absolutely transfixed on the small business section of any bookshop. And I used to read and read and read because that's how I got a lot of my business knowledge. And I thought about this and I thought, well, I've just had this ridiculous year of learning and I was feeling a little bit weird about it. And I thought, no, I'm going to absolutely reframe this. I am going to reframe what it means to make mistakes in business and, in fact, celebrate them, share them, and then even more than that, I thought I'd distill the learnings down into 12 key points and turn it into a small business help book, just like the ones I've been reading in the bookshop over and over, to actually pass on some of that knowledge and make it easier for another business owner or someone who's thinking about running a business so that they can get, if you like, 23 years of experience in a book that can be read in an afternoon so that they don't make my mistakes. So that they can go on and make their own mistakes, but it will actually help fast track them in their business. So that's why I wrote the book. And I've got to say, from writing the book, and I have found that it's even helped me at times, because all the time in business, we need some support. We need a companion. We need a champion. We need someone to say, you know what, you're doing okay. And sometimes when I read about, oh, yeah, that's right, that happened. Now, how did I get out of it? It gives me some motivation to continue on, pick myself up, get into business again the next day. And what I wanted to do was to provide that little in your bookshelf buddy for other small business owners, to give them some motivation, some guidance, some support, and some acknowledgement that they're doing okay, even if they're making mistakes. In fact, if you make mistakes, you're only going to learn faster. So, what's my call to action? Well, I guess my call to action is if any of you have either thought about running a business, you are in business yourself, or you know someone who's in business, then give them a business buddy that's going to help them get through those business days, particularly the tough ones, and learn about the year that I owned a wine shop. And I'm sure, like anyone who's had a crazy year that you just look back and go, boy, did I really do that? But you know what? It was probably one of the best years of my life. We got some things right, we got some things wrong, but boy, it was one hell of a ride. And all I can say is I was really glad that I had a little bit of wine to get me through those tough days. So thanks everyone, and I look forward to seeing you over at the signing table. Thank you.